My goodness. Okay, I think we're live now. Well, yeah, I think we're live. I think things are working now. Finally, good grief, that was an issue. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Somebody say something. Uh, Let me know if we're actually live and I didn't lose everybody in that during that process. We got somebody saying hi from Toronto. Hopefully that means we're live. So I'll go ahead and get disclaimers out of the way while we're waiting on it. Oh yeah, okay, we're good. We're good. Good. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It was weird. I tried connecting. It was like just spinning, wasn't connecting. I reloaded the page. I tried to connect without my camera. Long story short, we got in here, so we're good. So this is the weekly live broadcast. Pretty much every Thursday, this is where I am, 7 o'clock Central. You can come in here and you can ask questions maybe that you've had, things you need to get answered. If I can't answer it, somebody probably can in the chat. I do my best to respond to all the chat that comes in through the live broadcast, during the live broadcast, I should say. Unless you're talking to each other, which is fine. I let you guys talk to each other. I don't really care. My only rules are be polite, be courteous, be family friendly. Don't be hateful with anybody or rude and start calling people names or anything. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I don't have a topic planned out. So, even the controversial things like politics and religion, I'm okay with. But again, you can have a difference of opinion from anybody in here. We can have a little friendly debates, but there's no reason to hate anybody for that stuff. No reason to be rude. Start calling people names, start cussing at us, any of those kinds of things will kick you out. But other than that, we're good to go. So let's jump in. We got Dawn from South Central Illinois, says it's supposed to be 70 tomorrow. What a great change. Yeah, it's supposed to be like 68 tomorrow. Yesterday, well, was it yesterday? What's today? Thursday? Day before yesterday, it was 65 degrees when I got up in the morning, and then it snowed that night. Or it was like 62 degrees, I think, when I got up that morning, and then it dropped down to, I don't know, cold, and we got a little bit of snow. Not much. I mean, just a dusting, and it really didn't stick at all. I mean, it was gone by the time, we got out heading for work and all. It wasn't, you couldn't even tell. But still, it did snow a little bit that night. But yeah, we're supposed to be back up in the mid-60s tomorrow. It was 29 when I got up this morning, so it'd be nice to have a little bit back to the warmer weather. We got, who's that? David from Newport Richey, Florida. Good to see you. And then we got Woodtick from Winter Haven, Florida here too. Good to see you. Steve from Northern Wisconsin. And Andy says, hey, everybody from Southwest Michigan. Kind of windy, but hey, it's March, right? Oh, yeah, yesterday was the worst for winds. I mean, we had like 40-mile-an-hour winds, sustained winds all day. It was terrible. Tony Hard last name from Toronto. Good to see you. Let's see. Jacob Lefebvre, I think it is here. Good to see you. Chester says, good evening to everyone. Good evening to you too. Joe Sandy says, hey, everybody. Sandy here from Southeast Michigan. I had a bad quail week. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully nothing too terrible. Jacob says don't forget to like the live stream. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Joy from Western Oregon's here. Good to see you. Patrick from Quebec, Canada. Good to see you, Patrick. Sexton out. It says outsoars. I don't know if that was supposed to be outdoors or if that's a play on words of some kind. Don't know exactly, but either way, from Eastern Kentucky, good to see you. Jammin' Mike is here. Good to see you. Let's see. Woodtick says, finished my first hatch of the year with 75%. Best hatch so far. Awesome. Congratulations and well done. Zor says, South Texas, 84 tomorrow. Yeah, it's probably about on par. What is this? Yeah, it's probably about on par what you should be, right? We're actually going to be a little higher than normal tomorrow, mid-60s. Normally this time of year, we're probably averaging around mid-50s, somewhere around in there. Let's see. Chester Hickman says, Chris, my does had their babies on the cage floor. One was a first-time mom, so that I understand, but the other one was this was her second litter. They didn't even attempt to make a nest in the box. Sometimes it's difficult. Some does just, they have a hard time getting used to the nest box. If you haven't already, of course, you pick them up, put them in the nest box. They'll jump in there. They'll take care of them. Hopefully they figure it out. Honestly, it's one of those things that sometimes they just don't. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do to force them into doing that. Just watch them pretty close. Luckily, my rabbit's pretty good about it. Good about using the nest box. So it's not really that big of a deal for me, but I've had rabbits before that never did want to use the nest box, and I ended up like after about 3 litters and they didn't use the nest box, I get rid of them and get a new one. I'm not saying you have to do that, but it's something to keep in mind. But yeah, you're right. The first time mom, for sure, give her another chance. Absolutely. Yuri says, hello from Missouri. It's going to be windy again tomorrow. Makes roofing interesting. Yeah, I bet. Trying to roof in the wind. I can't imagine. Patrick says, it's been raining here for the last 4 to 5 days. Frickin' bears came out of hibernation. Saw one today smelling my rabbits. The bears are hungry, LOL. Yeah, we don't have enough bears. I mean, we have bear in Missouri, but not a ton. And I mean, every great once in a while, somebody will see one like at the edge of town or something like that, but not in town. I mean, it never happens. So don't have to worry about that one too much. I've had a little bit of an issue with dogs past couple of nights. They don't seem to be spending much time around the rabbit hutches. I've got a camera out there now that I'm kind of monitoring things with, but just kind of came through, wandered around for a minute and then left. There was like 3 of them, but and then for the past 2 nights, but they haven't really bothered anything, so I guess it's okay. Cesar Reyes says, hey, Chris and everyone, hope all is well. Well, things are going pretty well here. Hopefully they are for you too. Oh, excuse me. Oh, pardon me, yawning. I should have probably didn't get enough sleep last night, or I'm talking too much. I can't catch my breath. One of the two, huh? None of your business. None of your business. Hard to say, but I get what you're saying. Says hello from Central Kansas. First round of jumbo quail eggs in the incubator on day 2. Well, good luck with your hatch. I hope it goes well. First time is always exciting. So much joy says, good evening, Chris. I watched your video on the rabbit that was loose. Oh my, so sorry about all the odd things that were happening in your backyard with the rabbitry. Good idea to have the camera. Yeah, and so far on the camera, I have not caught anybody back there messing with it, but it had to be somebody. I mean, to talking and not typing, it was kind of hard to keep up with everybody typing. All right, let's see. Does anybody hear me or see me? I mean, are we working? That's what I need to know. You can hear me and see me? Okay, we're back. Okay, good. All right, let's jump into this again then. I probably missed some comments, so if you guys need to re-chat the same thing you chatted earlier and I didn't respond to or something like that, it's okay. It's not going to hurt my feelings. David says, I enjoy trapping bees, huh? I've never trapped bees. I mean, I've seen plenty of bees out in the wild, but I've never trapped them. I do like honeybees, though. I mean, they don't bother me a bit. Wasps, I cannot deal with. Do not like wasps at all. That's about the only thing that really bothers me as far as bugs or anything goes. In fact, just about anything I can think of. And not really too many things bother me, but wasps. I do not like wasps. So much joy says, a raccoon raided our duck's nest, ate 8 of the 11 eggs. She abandoned the nest after that, hoping she lays a new clutch, and she's a mallard. Well, good luck with that. I mean, I don't know a lot about ducks as far as like, are they going to abandon the nest again or not build? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that. But yeah, unfortunately, raccoons can do quite a bit of damage. So if you, who knows? You could set some traps for the raccoon, maybe catch them, and do whatever you want with them after that. But that would be the thing I think I would do. Try to get rid of the raccoon so you don't have to deal with that again. David says wasps kill bees, I think is what you're saying. Well, some do, I guess. Don says refresh your page. Again, refresh it. Are we down again? Oh, somebody else's. You were talking to somebody else, I think. Sexton Outdoor says yellow jackets are real bad here. Yeah, I don't really care for yellow jackets much either. They're not as bad to me as wasps. I mean, the thing about yellow jackets is that they just attack for no reason. And wasps do too, but it's not nearly as painful of a sting as a wasp. But yeah, they could be a pain. I've always heard the way to get rid of yellow jackets is take like a fish bowl or something like that, a clear glass container of some kind. Go out at night, not during the day, of course. Go out at night. They're a ground dwelling bee. Basically, they build their nest in the ground with one opening. If you know where that opening is, you put that over the top of that opening. Basically, they won't because it's glass and they can see through it, they won't try to dig a new hole out, and they'll basically just die in the nest. Won't be able to get out. So I don't know if that works or not, but luckily I haven't had to try it. David said, yeah, wasps kill bees. Yeah, some wasps do for sure. Don says, I had to get rid of ground bees or ground hornets soon. Oh, I have to get rid of soon if the weather cooperates. Ground hornets. I didn't know there was such a thing. Hornets are, luckily we don't really deal with hornets much around here. Thank goodness, because I can't imagine. That would be terrible. So much Joy says we get red wasps here more than yellow jackets. We do too. Red and black, both. But yeah, we get them all the time. I mean, they're always building nests in my, any kind of enclosure, anything that's under any kind of shelter. I had a porch light that had a piece of glass out of it, build up in there. I mean, everywhere. Such a pain. But the way to get rid of those too, take a cup of soapy water, like Dawn dish soap, soapy water. Throw that up there on their nest. Basically, it just coats them and they'll fall to the ground. You can just stomp them. Oh, let's see. Dawn says, I can't run from hornets or bees with this double knee replacement. Never run, LOL. Yeah, that would be terrible for sure. I do have the bug assault gun. I'm talking about it's like a shotgun. Basically, it's loaded with salt, take out bugs. It will kill a wasp, but you got to hit it just right. It's not really the best thing for it. Zar says, I don't think trapping works on raccoons. I've trapped and moved 11 a few months ago, and there are many back here already. Good grief, 11. That's a lot. Well, I mean, trap them, and then, like I said, do whatever you want. You don't necessarily have to relocate them. But if you're going to relocate them, you need to go a ways away, out to a wildlife refuge, probably, 10 miles away or something, would be my guess. But I have that problem with squirrels, and I know it's not the same squirrels because I don't relocate them, if you know what I mean. But, trying to trap that rabbit, I trapped 7 or 8 squirrels in that trap, and there's more out there now. So, I just can't get rid of them. There's just too many. So much Joy says, I love these live chats. I learned so much. I always leave encouraged. Well, awesome. I'm glad you do enjoy them, and I'm glad that you're learning things from them too. Mike says, how many chickens would you say I could fit in a 4-foot by 3-foot chicken tractor? Well, it depends. Are you talking about like chickens you want to raise for like egg production and you want to keep them in that tractor long term for egg production, or are these meat chickens that you're raising up to produce for meat? Because that really kind of does make a difference. I would say if you're like wanting like egg production out of them, they're egg laying chickens, 4.5 by 3 foot, that's about 15 square feet roughly, something like that. So I probably wouldn't do more than about 4 egg laying chickens in there. That may even be pushing it just a little bit, but that's probably about right. Now, if you're just growing them out for meat, you could probably get away with about 15 or so in there to just raising up for meat production. Patrick says to Zar, yeah, I agree. Raccoons always come back. Bev says, I thought the yellow jackets were the ones who lived in the ground. Yellow jackets do live in the ground. Yeah, they're a ground dwelling wasp, basically bee. I don't know if they're more wasp than bee or bee than wasp. I don't know. But they live in the ground. Yeah, they burrow down. They dig nests in the ground. Joe Sandy says, this week I lost 5 quail. Raccoon ate an almost complete bird through the bottom of my Dale's quail hutch. The next night, it ate the toes off 3 of my hens on my, I guess that's slightly rednecked hutch. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I've had raccoons come up to my hutches before. Had cameras where I saw them, but they never figured out how to get up to them. You can see them at the base of it kind of reaching up, and then they just give up and move on. But I don't know. Maybe they're pretty hungry where you're at. I don't know. Mike says, when buying meat chickens, does male or female matter? Well, not terribly, but the roosters do tend to grow. If you're talking like Cornish cross, at least, the roosters grow faster than the hens do. So you're probably better off with roosters most of the time, but that's not always an option. So it's not really that big of a deal. The other option too, though, if you're looking at, like, if you get like a mixed run or something like that, especially if you're doing a fairly big run, the good thing about that is that some of them will grow faster and you can process them. You don't have to do them all in one day. so you could, process them and then let the others grow out for another week or two and then do the rest. So you don't have to get it all done at once. Yuri says red wasps are more evil than the others. They'll chase you for no reason. Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it? And they hurt. Yeah, they do. I don't like wasps at all, any of them. Mud daubers don't bother me so much. They look like a wasp, but they don't really bother me. And I should say I don't like any kind of wasp. When I talk about wasps, I'm talking really primarily like the black paper wasp, the red wasps, the black wasps, those things right there. Other like there's a whole bunch of like predatory wasps and things like that don't bother me a bit. Zara says I don't relocate. I don't blame you at all. Daniel Barrett says, how are the rabbits going? Are you expecting any litters? Yeah, I should be getting a litter probably next week sometime. I need to go see. I think tomorrow is the day. I can look it up later. I think tomorrow or the next day I'm going to start checking for I could look it up, but it doesn't matter. I can start checking for whether she's ready for the nest box. I can't remember the date. I've got noted and a reminder set to pop up and let me know for my silver fox. And then I just bred my Tamuck one more time, 2 litters down. Hopefully the third one's a charm. I just bred her this last weekend, so roughly a month out for that. All right, Bev says, I've got a friend coming to visit tomorrow evening to help me rid my yard of rabbits. I have a ton, and they keep outsmarting my dogs, LOL. Yeah, we have some wild rabbits here too. Not a ton of them, but we do have a decent amount. I see them quite frequently, probably about 3 or 4 that I see on a regular basis. I don't know if it's the same rabbits or not, but it does seem like there's probably about 3 or 4 that are living in the area. Not overwhelming amount. One of them lives under the shed. I see him out in the backyard, and he goes and runs under the shed every time I go out. Not an overwhelming amount. It's not a huge issue here. David says, do you eat squirrel? I do. I like squirrel, actually. I think it's pretty good. Mike says, I don't eat the ones from my backyard. I've been trying to talk myself into getting over that because why not? It's free food. But for some reason, I've always had this kind of hang up on city squirrels. It just doesn't seem right. Mike says, is 18 by 30 inch big enough cage space for a rabbit? 18 by 30 inch. Yeah, I mean, it is. It depends on the size of the rabbit. That seems a little bit on the small side. I wouldn't put a breeder doe in there. But for a buck, it would work. But if you can get bigger, it'd be better to do bigger. I do 36 by 30. 18 by 30 is a little bit on the small side, quite a bit on the small side, unless you're doing like, mini lops or something like that, but full size meat rabbits, that's a little bit small for them. Dawn says, they do have a trap just for squirrels and you could eat them. Yeah, I have a squirrel trap. I built it, actually. I did a video on that when I built it. I built a squirrel trap. It works great. I mean, I catch squirrels in it, but I just can't keep up with, it's just so much. There's so many squirrels. I mean, I get rid of 6, and the next day there's 6 more out there. Mike says, so sorry for so many questions. I'm just excited about getting ready for spring. This week I built their chicken tractor, got rabbit cages. I pick up 3 does on Monday to get started. You don't need to apologize about the questions. That's what we're here for. That's the whole point. If nobody was asking questions or chatting, I wouldn't have anything to talk about. So it's all good. How are we doing on time here? It's 7:30. It feels like we just started. Joe Sadie says, then after handled the raccoon, I woke up the next morning to a dead hen with a bloody hind end. I'd been getting a bloody egg occasionally. Then yesterday I had another hen in the same shape. Oh my goodness. Things are just piling up, aren't they? Well, they just say when it rains, it pours. Yeah, I'm sorry you're having those issues. Hopefully you're just getting it all out of the way and then you'll smooth sailing from here on out. Brixton says, I'm pretty late, but made it nonetheless. Hey, it's all good. We're just glad you're here. Joe Sandy says, I don't know if she will pull through, and I don't know why this is happening all of a sudden. Don't stress yourself trying to figure out why it's happening necessarily. It's just something. I mean, those things just happen from time to time. There's not much you can do about it. Give her some time. If it's not like an obvious prolapse, if she doesn't have things hanging out, chances are she's going to be okay. Cindy Rapp says, fashionably late, but I made it. Hey, we're glad you're here either way. Section Outdoors says, I'm hatching jumbo whites this year. Only thing I could get in time for spring. Well, good luck. Hopefully those go well. Hopefully you don't have the issues I had when I had the jumbo whites, because those were the most aggressive. They fought all the time. They were incredibly difficult for me. But hopefully yours are not that way. Brixton says, have you seen the escaped rabbit again? No, I haven't seen him in several weeks, actually. I put the trap up. I mean, you guys probably saw the video. Put the trap up because I just haven't seen him at all. I mean, nowhere near. Nothing for like 3 weeks now. So I think he's probably gone. Buck Reynolds says, hello, everyone. Hope all is well. Well, I'm doing well here. Hopefully you are too. Excuse me, one more time. Huh? Oh, yawning. Ugh. Kevin says, what's better, quail or chicken? Well, I think that's kind of subjective. I mean, which one do you like better, I guess? I like quail probably a little better because it's got, to me, more flavor. To me, chicken is, except for the thighs. I like chicken thighs quite a bit. But the breast on a chicken is kind of just blah. It doesn't have much flavor. It's not real good. So I think, the quail is better in that sense. As far as like for raising for meat production, where I don't know, honestly, it's hard to say. The only bad thing I wish, the only bad thing is when you raise chickens, like I said, you end up with, you only get 2 thighs off them and the rest is breast meat really. And the legs are okay, but they're not my favorite either. So I wish I could grow like 4-legged chicken that had 4 thighs on them. That'd be awesome. But anyhow, so to say one's better than the other, again, it's a little bit subjective. It's just what you like better. The thing I do like about the quail is it's more sustainable. For me, because I live in town, I can't have chicken roosters, so I can't breed chickens and incubate eggs and reproduce them that way. With quail, I can do that. I can get away with reproducing. They grow super fast. To me, it's a better bang for your buck, but, Brixton says, dang, something probably got it then. Yeah, that's my guess, too. Probably the dogs that have been running around. Jan Steffi says, hello, Chris. Have you heard anything from Zach about QuailCon? Joe and I would love to go again. I don't think they're going to hold QuailCon this year. I think he's got some personal issues going on, family issues going on that nothing like terribly bad, but I just think there's some, family stuff. I don't know that I should share all this. I don't know. It's not my business. It's his business, but I don't think QuailCon's going to go on this year. Too bad. It's a good time, but maybe next year. Buck says, city squirrels taste just like country ones. I guess they do, but Bev says, are squirrels red or white meat? Well, I wouldn't call them red meat, that's for sure, but excuse me. But I don't know. I don't know that I'd call them white meat either. They're a lot like quail, right? It's wild meat. It's wild game, so it has more flavor than chicken does, but it's not red meat. It's not at all red meat. He says, I could feed them to the dogs, I guess. Well, here's the thing, though. You don't really want to feed wild game to your dogs without you either to cook it or freeze it for 3 months, I think it is, because of the chance of like parasites and that kind of stuff in it. David says, I don't like eating deer from the yard either. Yeah, I don't get many deer in the yard. Haven't had them back there before, but not often. It's pretty rare. Had wild turkeys back there before, but it's pretty rare for that too. But yeah, I don't think I would shoot a deer in my backyard. The only ones I've ever seen back there are pretty small does, not anything decent. Zara says, best place to order jumbo Coturnix eggs. And Bev says, try My Shire. That's a good one. Says if you can't get them local, try there. That is a good one for sure. There's several places that you can order eggs from. There's My Shire. I always have a hard time going through the list. My Shire is one of my favorites. I like Zach quite a bit. I like the family. I like they've got great bloodlines. It's a good provider. You're going to get good results with them. There's also Whiskey Tango Farms. I think they're still selling. Kansas City Quail Farm, I heard, was still selling, but I think that's kind of a limited thing. I don't think they're selling as much as, just open to the public like everybody else. Who else we got out there? We'll let everybody else bring up their suggestions because I can't ever get them all. David says dark meat. Talking about squirrel. Yeah, I guess it is kind of more dark meat. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it. Dawn says that she ordered jumbos from Gopher Ridge Quail Farm and Kansas City Quail. I always forget about Gopher Ridge. Joe Sandy says, has anybody ever used Thieving Otter Farm for eggs? Now that the roux is gone, I'll have to order some hatching eggs and thought I'd try them. Well, I've never tried them. I don't know anything about them necessarily, but I've had several people suggest them. So I'm sure that somebody is going to be able to say that they've ordered from them and give you a review on it. Let's see. Kevin says, last week on the live, you asked what kiwis you can grow in our area. You can grow the Anna Hardy kiwi vine down to zone 5 or 6. Well, that's pretty close. I mean, I'm 6B, I think. Let me see what growing zone I'm in again. Growing zone, Missouri. Let's see what it says. That can't be right. The AI overview says 7A. That's not right. I think we're like 6B. Well, I don't know. Several of them say 7A. Huh. I don't think that's right. Thank you for the information, though. I don't know if I like kiwis enough to grow one. I mean, I kind of like them, but they're not my favorite. David Lister says, we recently purchased an experienced California doe. We have tried several date nights with our experienced California buck, but she has no interest. Suggestions? It's that. That's the problem I always run into, right, is that does don't want to lift. Problems I have with my does now, they don't mind lifting necessarily, but my Tamuk doe, she's a little wild. I mean, you put her in that cage with the buck, and she's just grunting and snorting and running around the cage the whole time. Once he catches her, she lifts right away, no problem. But oh boy, there's a few times where I thought, should I pull her out of there? Because she looked like she was going to tear him up, but she didn't. She let him, mount and lift, no problem. Anyhow, to address that issue, it's a tricky one to address. You might give her a little bit of time if you haven't already. Try, increasing the amount of light. You shouldn't have to do that now. We're getting longer days, but sometimes the extra light can help put them in the mood. It's really just a matter of keep trying. What I do when I have a stubborn doe is I'll try morning, I'll try evening, and then the next morning, the next evening, the next morning, the next evening, 4 or 5 days of that, and see if she'll lift. If she still doesn't want to lift at that point, you might try to put her in a pet carrier and drive her around the block a couple of times, then throw her in with the buck and see if she'll live. I don't know why that works, but so many people swear by it that has got to be something to it. And then the last thing that you could try, I mean, you could always do force breeding if you wanted to. I don't really like to do that. But you might try switching their cages for a little while. Let put the doe in his cage, put him in her cage for just a little while, then switch them back for a couple of days, and then throw her back in the buck's cage and see if she'll lift for him that way. That sometimes works too. Those are a couple of suggestions, but really most of the time it's just a matter of keep trying. Hopefully she gets in the mood. Dawn says, Chris, this is a bummer. I got 2 new knees to be able to walk to go to QuailCon. Yeah, I know that's unfortunate, but it's been a pretty consistent 3-4 years now that we've done it, and he probably needs a break. I mean, I think it has to do with his grandmother that's living with him is why he's not doing it this year. She's older, and I don't know all the details. Like I said, I don't want to be sharing things out of turn. So you'd have to probably reach out to him to get it. I'll see if I can talk to him and get a clearance to, maybe find out what's going on and give some details. But I meant to actually reach out to him because I knew somebody was going to ask me about that tonight, and I forgot to. But anyhow. All right, Beth Smith says, oh, okay, probably not safe to feed them wild rabbits to the dogs either. I feed raw. I feed raw as well. And, if you're going to feed them, they always say freeze it for at least 3 months before you feed it. Sexton says, do you deworm your rabbits or quail? No, I've never found a reason to do that. I've never noticed any of them having worms. They're not in contact with the ground, so their likelihood of getting worms is pretty low. If they were in contact with the ground, they might have those issues, and I might have to deworm them from time to time, but I've never had it. So much joy says to David Lister to keep trying every day with that rabbit. Perhaps put a tablespoon of ACV, apple cider vinegar, if you don't know, in a gallon of water to give them during that time. It helped. I've never that. I mean, try it. What's going to hurt, right? I've never had tried using apple cider vinegar, but I don't know. Mike says, can you put skin or fur from rabbit processing in the dehydrator to make dog treats? Yeah, you absolutely can. I do it quite frequently with rabbit ears. I've never really tried the whole skin, but yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't work. But I do it quite frequently. Every time I process rabbits, I cut the ears, save the ears, and dehydrate them. I do it in the oven most of the time just because it's easier than pulling the dehydrator out. Just put them in there until they're dried out, basically. Dog loves them. Don says, I tried to get my Shire for my jumbos, and it was 8 to 10 weeks out for Brown, so I had to go those who could ship. Yeah, he's probably pretty busy right now this time of year. Let's see. Jan Steffi says, thanks so much for the update about QuailCon. Our prayers go out to Zach and his family. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know, all the details, exactly what's going on. I just know that there was some, stuff going on that didn't feel real comfortable doing QuailCon this year. I don't know that it's terribly bad. I mean, but, prayers for his family anyway, just to make sure they're doing okay. Dawn says, I'm in 6B. And So Much Joy says, I'm in 8B. Interesting. Mike says, is asparagus as easy to grow as they say it is? My asparagus grows pretty easily. The hard part about it is that it's like it never all comes up at the same time. So you get like 2 spears, and then like 4 days later, maybe 1 or 2 more. And then it's not like you never get a bunch of it all at the same time. It doesn't produce first year. It's like second year is when it produces, but it's not hard to grow. I mean, it's pretty much, I planted it and I don't do anything to it other than just like trim the stuff down in the fall, all the big tall stuff that's grown up, trim it all down in the fall and do it. Actually, I shouldn't say it doesn't necessarily produce in the first year. I think you're not supposed to harvest it at all the first year. Wait till the second year at least. Buck says to get rid of her and get a new doe. I think he's talking to Dave there about or David, I guess it is, about the doe that doesn't want to breed. So Much Joy says, yeah, my Timuck does are the same way, wild and won't lift. Took ages. I kept on trying. It finally worked, and we'll be having a litter April 3rd. Well, good luck. Hopefully that goes well. Yeah, mine, I mean, she lifts no problem, but she's a little wild. Zora says, always put the buck in the doe cage. When I had 20 breeder does, I just had to get rid of difficult rabbits. I don't ever I mean, it's really not advised. Don't take the buck to the doe because does can get really territorial and they can do a lot of damage to your buck. It's better to take the doe to the buck, not the other way around. Joe Sandy says, I started with my Shire eggs a year ago. Everything I've hatched from then, which is about 3 to 4 hatches, have been so aggressive. I just wanted to try something different. Interesting. I haven't had those issues. I'm wondering, did you start with some different colors or something? Because all I have is Jumbo Wilds. They're my Shire farm, but they're not aggressive at all. I don't have hardly any issues with aggression. Patrick says, dang, I'm in zone 4A up here in Quebec. Yeah, that is the downside of living up north, isn't it? So much, well, that and the weather. So Much Joy says, Zort the buck in the doe's cage. Man, if I did that, my doe might attack my buck. I thought it was only supposed to be the doe to the buck. Yeah, you're right. It should be the doe to the buck. Now, I'm not going to tell you. I mean, if you've always done it that way and it's working for you, I'm not going to tell you to do it differently. But my advice would be don't take the buck and put them in the doe's cage because they can, I mean, there's stories of them castrating bucks. I mean, all kinds of issues. Mike says, is 36 by 30 a good cage size for a breeding female rabbit? Yep, that's what I use, and it works fine. It's a great size. So Much Joy says, ground pumpkin seeds are awesome as a dewormer if you think it's necessary. I've always heard that pumpkin seeds were a natural dewormer. I've never really had a reason to deworm my rabbits or my quail or anything like that. David says, rabbit con at Chris's house. I'd do it if I had land and lived out. I live in town. There's no way I can't have that many people show up at my house. The city would come down on me. There's no way. But I'd do it if I could. Zora says, so much joy. You're correct. Been a long time. Hey, it happens, man. It's all good. Brixton says a rabbit con would be great. It would be. I'd love to do it, but I don't have a place. I can't do it in my backyard. There's no way. I only have parking out front for probably 2 or 3 people, not what we need, but unfortunately. Kevin Mershon says, I love the shirts you always wear. Well, thank you. Yeah, I have some good ones, I think. Hi, Homestead says hello. Hello to you too. Patrick says to Mike B, 30 by 36 is okay, but I believe you need the cage 24 inches high with a nest box that the does can perch on when the doe wants to break from the kits. I don't bother with that, like putting anything in there for her to get on. It's never that big of an issue. But yeah, I mean, you need it tall enough at least to where the rabbit can stand up on their hind legs with inside the cage. You don't want it too short. 24 inches tall is a good height. Kevin wants to know what my shirt says. It says, I don't always get shot, but when I do, I proceed to speak for 90 minutes uninterrupted. If you don't know this story about him, you should look it up, about Teddy Roosevelt getting shot on his way to a campaign speech and then going and giving the speech with the bullet lodged in his chest. It's an interesting one. You should read it. It's pretty cool. Steva says, is it possible for a buck to successfully mate with a doe, yet no fall off? I guess it's possible, but I don't ever consider it actually a successful mating unless we get at least one fall off. Mike B says, thanks for all the info. I really appreciate it. You're absolutely welcome. And there's this Doina Campion, I think it is, says, joined late. Did you catch the culprit opening the cages? No, I haven't. I mean, I've got a camera up. The only thing I've seen is a couple of times some dogs have come by. One time in particular, they were really harassing the rabbits. They were a different set of dogs than what I've seen the last couple of nights. The last couple of nights have just kind of come by. I mean, they may kind of run around the rabbit cage for a minute and then they just leave. I mean, they're 10 minutes out there at the most. But no, I have not caught anybody actually out there messing with things yet. We'll see if they come back. Joe Sandy says, I keep seeing all the news about egg prices and avian flu. Something doesn't seem right. Yeah, there's an avian flu outbreak, I guess. I mean, it's not that abnormal. It happens all the time. And whenever they, these big commercial hatcheries, whenever they get a case of avian flu, they wipe out the entire flock. I mean, the whole operation gets all of the chickens. They destroy them all. They're trying to prevent it from spreading. I don't know that that's the best practice way to do it. I was watching Joe Saladin talk about that the other day on a video, and he was saying, whenever you have these avian flu outbreaks like this, he says there's always, a handful of chickens at least that make it through just fine. He said if we were smart, we would just be breeding those chickens and, breeding better immune systems into them, basically, breeding the ones that made it through the avian flu and passing those genes on instead of wiping out the entire flock. But that's really why the egg prices are so high, is because of that. And sorry, I got distracted by another comment. That's really why the egg prices are so high right now. It'll come back down. It'd just be a little bit. It doesn't affect me. I've got plenty of eggs, so I don't really care. But I mean, I do care in a sense, but it's not anything that affects me directly. Zora says, age-old question, best sub $200 incubator. Bev Smith says, I vote for the Barado Lumia. I can't speak to that one. Oh, you said it's over $200, but well worth it. I can't speak to it. I haven't used it. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it works great. I'm using the Brincy Ovation, whatever it is right now, 56 egg incubator, I think, or 56 something incubator. It's pretty good. I like it quite a bit, but it was gifted to me, so I didn't have to buy it, and I think they're over $200. You really can't go wrong with a Little Giant styrofoam incubator with an automatic egg turner. I think you can get it all for about $150. They have, I've gotten fantastic hatch rates out of that thing, and I've been using it for 15 years probably. And Little Giant has fantastic customer service, some of the best I've ever seen. If you have any issues with your incubator, you call them up. They'll work through trying to troubleshoot it with you, and if they can't get it fixed over the phone troubleshooting it, they'll send you the parts that you need for free. They don't even ask you, like, when did you buy it? How old is it? I've done it twice. Over the course of 15 years, I've had the thermostat go out twice on it, and they just sent replacement parts like within a day or two, free, no charge. Fantastic customer service. Don says, I have the Barado Lumina 16 and love it. Bev Smith says, Don, I think I bought it on your suggestion. So, well, there you go. There's another vote for that one. I haven't used them, so I can't say. Doina wants to know how many eggs can you get in it. Bev Smith says 64 eggs. So, well, it's not a bad amount. That's pretty decent. Joe Sandy says, does anybody have an incubator with an automatic humidity control? I wonder if they're worth the money. I don't, I've always wondered that too. I mean, the Brincy ones that I have, the Ovation, I don't know if I probably could add it. They sell a model that has automatic humidity control in it. I don't really find it that necessary, honestly. Humidity is not as big of a deal. Unless you're hatching like duck eggs, humidity is not as big of a deal as people make it out to be. In the wintertime, I do have to add water if I'm hatching, but really during the summer, most of the time, I just dry hatch until time to lockdown, and then I just add water at lockdown. It's really not that big of a deal. Don says, I have a little giant, cost me $179 with quail rails. I still have to learn it. Yeah, they're actually not that hard. Just like any incubator, you want to get a couple of thermometers that are calibrated, throw them in there, run it for a little while, make sure the thermostat actually reaches temperature correctly. You may have to adjust it a little bit. Mine's pretty close to being on. I don't really have to do much. Maybe a half a degree, maybe a degree higher than what it actually, it may read a degree lower than what it actually is. So instead of running it at like 99, I run it at 100 maybe, but it's not far off. Rickston says, this Missouri weather is crazy. We went from negatives to low teens to 50s, then had a snow day yesterday. Now it's 40 again with no snow on the ground. I know it's insane. Yeah, we were, let's see, was it last week? No, it was a week before, I think it was, where it was like negative temperatures. We had 5 inches of snow. It was cold for like 3 or 4 days. And then it was 60 degrees on Monday after that. Like this was through Friday. 2 days later, 65 degrees, all the snow melted off. Yesterday, dropped back down, had snow last night. It is nuts. I know. Let's see. Mike B says, has anyone had any success selling the rabbit droppings? I've sold a few from time to time, but it's nothing like it didn't bring a big interest. I guess I didn't really put a lot of effort into it though, so I don't know. Steve says we just got 10 inches of snow yesterday here. 10 inches is a lot of snow for us. 5 inches is a pretty good snow for us. We only get like a couple of snows a year. We don't get a ton of snow. Don says, don't buy the added humidity control for the Barados. Okay. Bev Smith says, totally not required. Just make sure it's filled every night and the humidity is steady. Well, there you go. So Much Joy says to Brixton, whoa, but that's crazy. Try East Texas then, LOL. We get temps that fluctuate often. Try going from 33 at night to 70 in the afternoon, or in the 40s at night to 86 a couple of weeks ago, LOL. Yeah, I lived in East Texas for quite a while. I know all about it. It's really not that many. Everybody wants to say, right? The saying where everybody is, well, if you don't like the weather around here, just wait a couple of days, Everybody thinks their weather is so unique to their area. It's really not that big of a difference for everywhere else. So Much Joy says, wait, y'all had that much snow, then up that temperature. Wow. Okay, that is crazy. Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's a little nutty. Let's see. Patrick says it might be. I sell droppings in 5-gallon pails. I sell about 25 a year, all pre-sold, all gardeners. I sell them $10 for a 5-gallon bucket? $10? Wow, I'd sell it for that too. That's a pretty good deal. Don says a little giant's hard compared to the Barado, Chris. It's so different. I use it to lock down before I got dislocated knees. I'll be practicing with my own eggs in it. I haven't used a Barado, so I can't say one way or the other, but my little giant's pretty easy. Set it. That's it. There's not much to it really. Mike B says in Western PA, all the snow has melted and now everything is mud. Yeah, we kind of went through that too. Zora says, your videos have been great. I think I have watched all of your quail videos, some more than once. Well, thank you very much for watching them. I appreciate that. Bev Smith says, where's Vay? Is she okay? I haven't talked to her. I don't know. I'm assuming she's okay. Haven't heard one way or the other. Don wants to know, does that include the cost of the $5 pail? Probably not. We'll see. I don't think Steve's on right now either. David says, thanks for the chat, everyone. You're absolutely welcome. Patrick says, no, it doesn't include the pail. All my clients are repeat clients. They usually bring me their pails. Yep, that's the way to do it for sure. Oh, Steve Sadnick is here. I think we were talking about Steve Swanson. No offense. I mean, we're glad you're here too, but they were specifically, I think, asking about him for an update on Verna. Well, we are getting real close to wrapping this one up. Yeah, Bev says, sorry, Steve, the other one, LOL. And the chat's dying down. Richardson says, I'm heading out. Good night. Good night to you too. Thanks for joining us. Susan says, do they stink? I want to raise some on my porch. You want to raise, what do you want to raise on your porch? Bev's going to IM Verna and check on her and see if she's doing okay. Oh, you want to raise quail on your porch. They're not terrible as long as you can keep them dry. If you get the droppings wet, that's another story. But as long as you keep them dry, they're not terrible. Raising them on your porch, you're probably going to be doing a whole lot. I mean, they produce a tremendous amount of waste. So you'd be doing a whole lot of cleaning. But it's possible you can do it. Steve says, thanks, everyone, for the chat. You're absolutely welcome. So Much Joy says, had a great time, y'all. Thanks. Bev Smith says, good night. All wish me luck on catching that dang rat this evening. Well, good luck to you. Hopefully you get it. Mike says, thanks. God bless. Gotta go. Thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. Sexton says they just seem very dusty. They are a little dusty. Yeah, you're going to run into that too. Zora says, thank you so much for the chat. Been great. Absolutely. And Susan says, enjoy your channel. Well, thank you. Yep, time for me to wrap this one up, guys. It's 8 o'clock. Spend some time with my wife before it's time for bed and get up and go to work tomorrow. So thanks for joining me. Always appreciate it. Should be back next week. I don't see any reason why we won't be here. So until then, as always, God bless. We'll see you guys later.